Welcome back, folks, to another Archetype review. I'm Froze, and today we're going to be covering the Celebrity Archetype from the Advanced Player's Guide. It's a short and sweet archetype all about commanding and manipulating attention, while maintaining your own image. It's not a particularly strong archetype mechanically, but it's a ton of fun if you aren't to try and make a super optimized character. For what it is a lot of fun and has some really interesting and flavorful abilities. The Celebrity dedication actually has no prerequisites at all, which is a little unusual for an archetype, but it makes a lot of sense for being a celebrity, because celebrities can be popular for basically anything. It wouldn't make sense to tie it down to a particular skill or class feature. You get two main benefits from taking this dedication. First, whenever you use the Earn Income Downtime action, if you're choosing to try and do a job that is a higher level than your own level, you're getting +1 circumstance bonus on your roll. This, for the most part, is going to mean that you can do a job one level higher than your level at the same efficiency as a job of your level. So it's alright, it makes you a bit better at earning income during downtime, but earning an income during downtime pales in comparison to the amount of money that you can get from actively adventuring. So it's not going to be a hugely effective or monumental amount of money that you're making from downtime. The second benefit that you get is the access to the upstage reaction, which is all about showing off to everyone that you're better than them. Whenever an enemy attempts a skill check, and they do not critically succeed on it, you can show them how it's really done. You attempt the exact same check against the exact same DC with the same skill. If you critically succeed, then you get a +1 status bonus on your attack rolls, perception checks, saving throws, and skill checks until the end of your next turn. If you just normally succeed, then you get the exact same benefits, but only if the enemy failed on their check. If you critically succeed on the check, then you can still get those benefits if they succeeded on their own skill check. This is a pretty great boost to pretty much every single thing that a character does, and getting that is going to be wonderful. But do keep in mind that to make the most out of this feat, you have to be trained or better with a lot of different skills. A rogue is going to get more out of this than a fighter will, because a rogue is going to be trained in more skills. Also, something that allows for you to increase your untrained proficiency modifier is going to be very useful here, like untrained improvisation. Never Tire is one of the most highly specific reactions that I've ever seen, and I personally don't feel like it has enough oomph to make up for it being that specific. The Never Tire reaction triggers whenever you would gain the Wounded condition while you're being observed by at least 3 creatures who are not enemies, so most likely your party. As long as you're being observed by those creatures, or at least 3 other people, you do not become fatigued, so you hold it off. You keep it in because you don't want to let your image down by, being tired. Celebrities don't get tired, they just hide that. You can delay the effects of a fatigue condition for at least 1 minute, or until you're no longer being observed. Once you're no longer being observed or a minute passed, the fatigue condition comes into effect, and it will just last for its normal duration. So if you got affected with fatigue that lasts for 10 minutes, and then you use Never Tire, the 10-minute counter starts the instant that you get the condition. Fatigue is a pretty annoying condition to have, and getting the ability to just say, no, I'm not fatigued, is going to be nice. But it is rare enough that I feel like being able to delay it for a minute isn't particularly good. If I was a GM and a player wanted to take this feat, I'd personally either allow it to affect other conditions, like, say, clumsy or enfeebled, or I would make it last considerably longer, like, say, 10 minutes or an hour. That way it might affect multiple different fights or multiple scenarios, and I think that it might be a little bit more useful in that way. But, as it is, I personally feel like it's a little bit too underwhelming. But as long as your GM is fine with making some small adjustments, it can be very useful. Mesmerizing Gaze has the potential to be very good, but it is held back by how much it relies on the Fascinated condition. For 2 actions, you can now use Mesmerizing Gaze. You choose a creature that you can see, and that's it any range, that's not just within 30 feet, and then they have to succeed on a will save versus either your spell DC or class DC, whichever one's higher. If they succeed, then they become fascinated by you. for one single round. If they succeed on their saving throw, or if the fascinated condition is removed by someone performing a hostile action, then they are temporarily immune to Mesmerizing Gaze for a full 24 hours. My issue with this feat is almost exclusively with how weak the fascinated condition is, and for how short of a time it's applied in the first place. Fascinated just applies a -2 penalty on all of a target's perception or skill checks that are not related with a particular target, and prevents you from using any concentrated actions that don't target the object of your fascination. My issue is that that's pretty weak, and it only lasts for a single round. The one situation that comes to mind whenever I think of how being able to fascinate someone like this would be helpful is to draw the attention of guards so the rest of your party can sneak by. If you fascinate them, then they're going to be focusing on you and not on your allies sneaking around behind them. That's probably the main use that I can think of off the top of my head, and as it is, that means that it would only last for a single round. And every single turn they get a new save, and once they succeed once, then the entire plan's done because they're no longer fascinated and they can't be for another full day. Now, I think that this would get substantially better if the fascinated lasted for a longer time, or if the targets were completely unaware that they were fascinated in the first place, or that their mind didn't recognize that it was, in fact, some kind of outside manipulation of their brain. Now, it doesn't explicitly say that they do recognize that something happened, but most people probably are, so I wish that it was just implemented in there that their brain justified all of their reactions. That way it'd be much more of a covert operation sort of deal, and I think it would be a little bit better. Speaking of distracting abilities, Command Attention is the capstone of the celebrity archetype, and it is either going to be highly situational or absolutely fantastic depending on who you're fighting and who is in your party. For a single action, you captivate the attention of every single person within 30 feet of you. Whenever anyone but you attempts a saving throw against a visual effect while they're within 30 feet, they get 1 degree of success better since they're looking at you, not whatever the effect was. So if someone uses color spray, they get 1 degree of success better for everyone who is affected because they're looking at you and not all the fancy lights. Basically, you are literally the center of attention. Also, if an enemy is trying to use a visual effect that requires focusing its attention on anyone except you, it has to make a will save against your class DC or spell DC, or if it just straight up fails. Most creatures with gaze attack can spend 2 actions to focus that gaze onto a particular target, and that has the visual trait, so if you use Command Attention, something like a Medusa or any other creature with a horrific gaze attack has just a chance of not being able to target anyone but you. This does, of course, have the slight issue of putting a huge target on your back, because now the Medusa can have a really hard time turning anyone else to stone. So they're going to try and turn you to stone. So just be ready for putting yourself in that situation. The last benefit of Command Attention is that any allies who are within 30 feet of you can attempt to hide even if they don't have cover, since you are so overwhelmingly distracting that it's hard to keep an eye on anyone else. So everyone else can just disappear into the shadows and no one will notice because everyone's looking at you. This feat is very good, but keep in mind that, like I said, this is going to put a target on your back. You're literally putting a spotlight on yourself, which can have some pretty serious problems. But any stealthy characters in the group are going to love you, because now they don't have to deal with cover and all that shenanigans, because you are their cover. Overall, the celebrity archetype is in a kind of weird place, where almost all of its abilities are super situational, but it's still a lot of fun and adds a ton of flavor to a character. As it is currently, it works just fine, even if some of the abilities won't show up very often, but with a bit of GM help, it will really come into its own. Now, I understand that this is not an archetype that would really make sense to be exceptionally powerful or mechanically dangerous, because it's literally just a celebrity. Just because someone is popular does not mean that they're going to be helpful in a fight. But I do think that it just because this is a game where there's going to be a lot of combat, if you're going to be going out of your way to get these features, I think that they should be a little bit more versatile so they can be useful in games. It's a great archetype for any showboaty type of character who wants to always be in the spotlight. Even if they aren't quite a celebrity quite yet, you don't even have to be popular to take this. You can just act like you're popular, which is very different things and can make for a lot of really funny jokes. Thanks for watching this video, and if you're actually watching this on the day that it's getting released, then Merry Christmas. If you aren't, then Merry Christmas anyway, I guess, if you celebrate it. If you don't, happy holidays or whatever you celebrate. Just have a fun day, go out and do something that you like. Spend time with your loved ones. I don't care if it's not December anymore, do it. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe down below because it helps me out with serotonin, and also, you know, it makes my channel get recommended to more people, yada yada yada. You've heard this speech from many people before. Also, any constructive criticism would be nice since I'm always looking to make my videos better, and I am really bad at realizing what I'm doing wrong myself, so you guys pointing it out down below is the easiest way for you to get me to improve my videos. But until I see you next, live a wonderful life.